Today we're going to be making an awesome no-knead pizza dough. If you've ever made pizza dough at home and you've spent 30 minutes trying to knead the dough to get it the perfect consistency, this is the awesome way to never have to do that again. All it takes is a little more patience and time. You are going to just let it sit longer instead of kneading it. So first you will need yeast. This happens to be a jar, but you can also buy the packets of yeast. You're going to need some warm tepid water, flour, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and pepper, garlic, whatever flavorings you happen to want to add to your dough. First, we're going to start by activating our yeast. Now you could do this in the bowl, but old habits die hard for me. You want to get 1/4 teaspoon of yeast and put it into your warm water. And add a pinch of sugar to that water and just give it a little stir. And that just kind of wakes up the yeast. If you're wondering what yeast looks like, it's just tiny little flakes, but once it gets wet, it is a live creature that naturally occurs. So while that's going, we're going to put our flour into our bowl. And you can double this recipe to make a bigger portion. I'm just doing it for one. So I have 1 3/4 cup of flour. All right, and our water looks to be about ready. So I'm just gonna make a little dip. You don't have to, you could just throw it on in there. And I'm gonna give it a stir. Now flours will vary, so you want to have a little extra in case the dough is too wet or too dry. And I'm going to add some olive oil, about a tablespoon. This is 1/4 teaspoon, so I'm going to get 4 of these to get 1 teaspoon of sugar. And you don't want it to be sweet, you just want it to have a slight flavor. And then salt, the same amount of salt to sugar. And this is table salt, so be careful in your portions if you are using kosher salt. I'm using about a teaspoon of salt. And I am going to flavor mine with some garlic powder and some black pepper. See, I'm going to need some more water. So the reason we don't use cold water or super hot water is because the yeast is sensitive to extreme temperatures. So this is just kind of room temperature, barely warm when you put your finger in it. I'm just going to add a teeny amount and stir it. Because we aren't weighing our flour, it will always vary. It's never going to be an exact cup portions because each flour is a little different. And now we're going to go in with our greatest tool, our hands. And you're not kneading it, you're just combining the dough and getting it to form a ball in the middle. It's going to be a little sticky, but it shouldn't be crazy sticky. If it is, then it's too wet. but you want the flour incorporated. And we're going to make it into a little ball. All right, pretty good. And we're going to let that sit covered for 18 hours at room temperature. So between 70 and 75 degrees for 12 to 18 hours. If it's a cold room, it will be a little longer. If it's a warm room, it'll be a little faster. So I went ahead and cleaned out the sides of my bowl and covered it with some plastic wrap. The plastic wrap will keep it from drying out, and this will rise. It will double in size, which is what you're looking for. So we're gonna zoom in a little and see if that's what it looks like now. We're gonna see how long it takes it to double in size. Okay, it's been about 8 hours. You can also do 12 to 24 hours, and it has doubled in size. And you can tell that it is ready because you'll see these bubbles, and it's kind of stretchy. These bubbles are what keep you from having to do all that kneading, so they are awesome. So we're going to turn it out and form it into our dough, and it should be not too sticky, but certainly pliable and elastic. I'm going to split it into two. Put a little bit of flour on your hands, and then you're going to mold it into a disc shape. If you're really talented, you could throw it up in the air, but I am not that talented. So we're just going to gently stretch it, and if you happen to get a little tear, you just repair it just like you would with Play-Doh. And we are trying to get it thin because I like a thin crust, and you want to make it the same size as your pan. And then I will coat this with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then you add your toppings, not too much sauce. And here is the final result. A wonderful homemade pizza that is better than any delivery you've ever had.